And for the next keynote speaker, we have someone uh, from Python Software Foundation Director, Nina Zakharenko. Okay, hi Nina. You
Hi,
mute.
can
How
everyone
are
hear me
you?
okay? I'm
It's
doing
okay.
well.
Okay, thank you very much for your time here in PyCon Indonesia. We are very delightful to have you here.
It's great to be here as well.
Okay,
Let's see if I can share my screen.
yeah, you can share it, and I will show it later if you have the stage. And before that, I will read about your profile. Nina is the Python Software Foundation Director. So if participant doesn't know what is the PSF, if you just heard about PSF, PSF is official organization that produce and distribute Python, protect from any legal issue, and support international community of Python programmers and other thing they do for the Python community. And she is one that helps fulfill that PSF mission. So aside from the community, she also an expert developer that currently focus on Python at Microsoft on the cloud developer advocacy team. In the past, Nina's written software for a satellite control computer at HBO, code that help people connect over their patient at Meetup, and implement time wasting feature and on Reddit. Nice jokes. And I also see you tinkering with hardware and wearable. Yeah, that's awesome. I watched about your video with Lady Ada, yeah, from Adafruit. It's very awesome. And she loves teaching developer and have spoken at so many conferences like PyCon Indonesia, EuroPyCon, Jingo Conference, and closing keynote at PyCon US 2020, 2020, sorry. We also can find a lot of course material in search engine by Nina, including intro and intermediate Python. So if the participant asks, I'm beginner, where should I start? Yeah, you know where to find it. Just search Nina Zakharenko or at NNGA or how I pronounce it, Ninja. Okay. Okay, without any more chit chat, Nina, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay? And see my
Yeah,
slides?
yeah, your
I'm
slide
gonna
is
I'm
okay.
gonna assume a thumbs up. Um, Unfortunately, with the way that I'm presenting, I won't be able to see your questions or comments until after because I have to minimize this window. So if there are any issues, just let me know over sound and I will come and fix them.
Okay.
So, hello, PyCon Indonesia. It is your morning, but it's my evening. So it's Saturday night here. It's 8 p.m. for me. And I'm probably going to be winding down for bed shortly after my talk. I'm really glad to be able to join virtually today. And this is a topic that is pretty near and dear to my heart. If you are interested in finding the slides after the talk, you can find them at nina.to/pyid2020. So a little bit about me. Who am I? I work at Microsoft as a Python developer advocate, and my focus is on making VS Code and Azure a pleasure to use for Python developers everywhere. I've written software for over a decade at companies big and small, and if you want to reach out, please find me on Twitter. My username is @NNJA. Lately, I've also been doing some live coding on Twitch. You can follow me at NNJAIO, or you can check out my blog and my website at nnja.io. So, what is the Python community? Well, I started out my career as a Java developer. This is actually something that not a lot of people know about me. And I didn't really know anything about open source software, about meetups or community or events. I felt like my job was just kind of a means to an end. I went to school for programming because I always enjoyed it, but by the time I graduated from college, it wasn't really something that I was doing for fun anymore. And I wasn't really doing any fun programming or creative coding. And at that time, I was really just kind of falling out of love with tech. I had a lot of bad experiences in the industry, and they're just, I hadn't really felt the draw to tech like I had when I was younger. Then I went to PyCon US in 2013 because I had heard a lot of good things about it. And the company that I worked for at the time let us go to one conference a year. And so I chose PyCon. And I kind of thought that I would go. At the time, I was a Java developer. I think I had written maybe 100 lines of Python at the time for an API that I was working on. And I really wanted to learn more. And I thought that I would show up and just kind of get made fun of, for being a newbie, or that people wouldn't really accept me because I was new to Python. And in fact, I would say that the exact opposite thing happened. People were really welcoming. They were really supportive. Nobody made fun of me for being really new to Python. And my experience at PyCon US, I would say, really turned a lot of things around for me. It changed my life. It changed my career. And I made a lot of really lifelong friends in the process. Sorry, my phone is buzzing. And I don't know why, because it's on silent mode. So let me just turn that off so that it doesn't buzz anymore. Technology.
It's okay. Take your time.
All right. So since PyCon US 2013, I've had a lot of changes. A lot of them have revolved around the Python community. And I will say that my love for the Python community only gets stronger and stronger. I've most recently been elected to the board of directors for the Python Software Foundation. But really, most importantly, I would say that this journey with Python helped me fall in love with programming all over again. And this picture is from PyCon US in 2019 with some PyLadies Tokyo organizers and members and some folks who work at Adafruit. They did a workshop at the Microsoft booth. And every time I look at old pictures, this was, a little bit over a year ago, I just think about how close all of our faces are. That is definitely not something that would be happening today. But, the world is different now, and a lot has really changed over the past few months. So back in February, I was planning a trip to PyCon US again. It would have been my 8th in a row. I would have seen friends from all over the world, including folks from PyCons and the Python community all over the world. But how do we adapt to what the world looks like now? Well, the benefit is there is this worldwide set of communities, and now those worldwide communities are remote. So you might not have had an opportunity to participate in an event outside of your country before, but now you can. You can join other Python worldwide communities remotely, like PyCon Africa has happened in the past, EuroPython, PyCon Australia. So Python events at some pretty exotic locations. In the future, there is PyJamas, which is a remote event, and then also PyCascades Remote 2021. And the CFP is open until November 15th. So tomorrow, anywhere on Earth, if you'd like to submit a talk, you can do so at cfp.pycascades.com. And participating in one of these global events can help you figure out and participate in a new culture, have new experiences, maybe meet some new friends from outside of your region and outside of your community. I've now had a chance to speak remotely for meetups in Chicago and Seattle. I'm able to speak to you today without having to get on a plane. I've been lucky enough to speak to Python communities in Korea and Japan remotely as well. And it's been an opportunity to join in on some smaller, tighter knit communities that I might not have had a chance to do in the past. And it's an experience that I've really been able to value. There are lots of different ways of staying in touch with members of the Python community. One of them is through chat. So there's the Python Discord, which now has over 100,000 members. The screenshot is a little bit old. And the Python Discord is really amazing. The organizers are really kind, and they have a great code of conduct, and their intent is really to have a space where folks can chat about Python, where they can learn and grow and ask questions, and it's a really healthy community. Adafruit has a Discord as well that has topics on Circuit Python and Python on hardware. So they're also fantastic. It's well moderated, and it's a great community space. There's also the Python at Microsoft Discord. So if you check out the slides, there are links to all of these Discords if you download them as a PDF. And the Python at Microsoft Discord is a smaller community, but there are members of the product teams hanging out. So if you have any questions or feedback about, let's say, the Python extension for VS Code, that's where you can go and ask questions, and it's really nice as well. And then there's also a lot of community Slacks and community Discords. And lastly, Twitter is really also a very active place for the Python community. One of the other ways that you can stay in touch with some folks from the community is a show that I've been running on Discord called Python Tea, which is a live interview show. So here in the middle, you might notice that my guest was Diana Rodriguez, who gave a talk yesterday. And my intent with this show was to have it kind of be like the hallway track. So I would invite my guests on, and a lot of times our conversations would be adjacent to Python, but not necessarily super technical. It's been a chance for me to ask members of the Python community just like how they've been, what they've been working on, what they're excited about. And the best part about doing this on Discord is that there's also a live chat. So people come and hang out and chat with us. And we answer questions live. So the show has been on a little bit of a hiatus, but it's going to be back in January of 2021. And once the show resumes, it's going to be almost every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And that's at my Twitch channel, twitch.io/NNJA, or sorry, twitch.tv/NNJAIO. There is also a really healthy community of Twitch live coders that are doing cool stuff with Python. There are a lot of really experienced Python developers who are now live coding on Twitch. So if you want to level up and see what kind of workflows and what kind of tools these expert developers are using, it's a really great place to do so. And this may not be time zone friendly for your time zone, but you can watch the recordings after. But if you are able to catch it live, that's my recommendation because it's interactive. You can chat and ask questions and really participate. So some of my favorite live coders are Anthony Writes Code. He is an ex-Lyft engineer, and he is the author of a lot of popular open source libraries like pre-commit. And he streams very regularly. Al Swigert streams as well. He's the author of some pretty popular books in Python, like, what is his book? I'm blanking on the name. Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. And then he also has a brand new book that is coming out any minute. That's kind of a follow-up to that book as well. So he does a lot of streams around Python and teaching Python. And then one of my favorites is Dr. Sarah Kaiser. She streams a lot about quantum computing, and she does it in a way that's very accessible to people of all ability levels. So while she herself is a physicist, you don't need to be a physicist to follow along with her stream. And she occasionally streams about Python integrations in quantum computing. So how can you support the community? Well, I want to preface this by saying to remember self-care. It's okay to not be okay in 2020. We're people, we're not robots, and what's going on in the world is really stressful and it's really confusing. And you really need to focus and actively participate in self-care and making time for yourself. If it's safe to go on a socially distanced walk with a friend in your country, maybe you can take advantage of that. Or see your friends on Zoom or over chat. You can learn new things, and they don't necessarily have to be technical things. You can pick up a new hobby. Maybe it's a good time to learn to draw or pick up a musical instrument. Or maybe learn to make bread or make fancy dishes. We all have a little bit more time to spare to learn something new if you can't be kind of out in the world. And I think most importantly to folks in the US, remember to take breaks from the news. With our news cycle, it feels like every day in the news there's something bad or something terrible going on, and it kind of feels bad to say it, but it doesn't really feel like there's an end in sight anytime soon. So if you need to take a few days break, you're not going to miss much. Remember to put down the doom scrolling and put down the apps, and take time to focus on yourself instead of being hyper aware of what's going on in the world minute by minute, because the news will also be there tomorrow. You need to focus on taking care of yourself first. One of the great ways of thinking about this is something called the spoon theory. So the spoon theory is a metaphor, and it's used to describe the amount of physical energy and mental energy that a person has available for activities of living and for productive tasks. And it's especially used to explain the reduced amount of energy that may result from disability or from a chronic condition. So you can think of the spoons as a visual representation that are used as a unit of measure of energy. I will say that during COVID, many of us are experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety, even if that's not a diagnosis that you have. And it's really important to take this into account when you are planning your day. Because even if you've never had issues with energy or enthusiasm or motivation in the past, these days, whether you're taking care of kids or friends or spending more time cleaning the house or whatever it is that it might be, you just might find yourself with less energy, and that's okay. It's really okay to be kind to yourself, because if you overdo it, you risk burning out. And once you burn out, recovery is so much harder. Burnout is one of those things where there's a saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So anything that you can do to prevent burning out is a much better use of your time than trying to treat burnout after it already happens. So it's really important to monitor your energy level, to be compassionate, and to, just admit that we're living in different times, and that's okay. So you can, if you have the spoons, give back and volunteer, but do so carefully. You can find yourself with lots of opportunities to contribute if you have the spare spoons. One of those ways is with open source software, like Marietta talked about. You can volunteer at conferences and events. You can take the time to speak. You can give a talk at a conference or a meetup. And you can also be a mentor. I think now more than ever, a lot of folks are looking to break into tech. They're looking to break into Python. And it's a great opportunity for folks who are well established, who know more, to really contribute to a lot of people's lives. And if you're feeling very brave and very adventurous, you can also organize your own events. For open source projects and communities, one of my favorites is CircuitPython. Using CircuitPython, I was able to make the LED earrings in the picture there, and you can find a link to the code at the bottom of the slides. I also used CircuitPython to make this LED jacket, which I'm still in the process of working on. So unfortunately, there's no links to it, but this jacket, my jacket runs CircuitPython, and I'm able to control the patterns and the colors by Bluetooth from my phone. So that's definitely a favorite project of mine. You can also contribute to Jupyter notebooks. Like Marietta, you can contribute to Core Python. There's Python packaging, and also documentation and translation. So especially if you speak another language, finding documentation that is maybe only in English and translating it to your local language so that more folks from your community can benefit from that documentation is a really great thing that you could be doing. And there are also lots and lots of other projects that are not necessarily written in Python. For example, if you know JavaScript and TypeScript, VS Code and the Python extension for VS Code are both open source, and you can contribute to those if those are tools that you use. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the Python Software Foundation, sometimes abbreviated as the PSF. And the mission of the Python Software Foundation is to promote, protect, and advance the Python programming language, and to support and facilitate the growth of a diverse and international community of Python programmers. Now, what exactly does the PSF do? Well, they hold the intellectual property rights for Python. They maintain licenses, and we also run PyCon US. There are grant programs for projects, meetups, and conferences, and support for python.org, PyPI, Python documentation, as well as long-term maintenance of those projects. There are a lot of working groups to improve the Python ecosystem, and also the PSF grants awards. So awards like PSF Fellow, Community Service Awards, and then the board of directors helps to guide this foundation. I have a few goals as a member of the board of directors. One is to help the Python community run successful remote events. So I am the co-organizer for PyCascades Remote 2021 next year, and we are trying lots of new and exciting things. So hopefully, even if you're not able to join as a speaker, hopefully you're able to maybe register and see some of the talks. And I'm also on the PyCon US 2021 working group to guide PyCon US in these new and trying times. So I'm really hoping to set some best practices and make recommendations. And I also want to help the PSF and the community be more diverse because, like Marietta mentioned, representation is really important. It's really important to see people who look like yourself doing the things that you strive to do one day, whether that be age or race or gender or nationality. There are a lot of vectors for representation. And the more of those we have, the more likely we are to inspire somebody to participate. So how can you support the PSF? You can volunteer. There are many work groups available. There's a code of conduct. There's a grants work group. There's infrastructure and education. And you don't need to be a board member of the PSF to join these groups. You can contribute to open source, either documentation or code. Or lastly, if you are able to, you can also donate either by becoming a member or by participating in some of the drives that the PSF has. For example, there's a Humble Bundle drive every year where you get a bunch of cool Python books or tutorials, and some of the money that you use for that purchase goes to the PSF. And if you want to stay up to date, you can also follow the PSF on Twitter at the PSF. So what's next? Well, be kind to each other. Be patient. Be patient with others. You don't know what their home situation might be. But also be patient with yourself, especially on days where you feel off. Find ways to support others. And we're all in this together. I think the Python community is going to come out stronger on the other side than it has in the past, because I truly believe that the Python community is stronger together. And with that, I want to say thank you so much. You can download the slides. There are links in the slides as well. I've linked to some additional resources. And you can follow me on Twitter at NNJA. You can watch me sometimes live stream on Twitch. And you can also check out Python at Microsoft at the link below. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Nina, for your great presentation. You have so many acknowledgements, especially for your jacket. Very cool, very awesome.
Yeah. Should we try to change the colors? I can take a request from the audience.
Okay, what do you want to the color? I think it's a legging, but can you please do the demo?
Yeah. Let's try to, I need to connect to my jacket first.
Is it using a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi?
It's Bluetooth.
Oh, nice. Purple from Fatma.
Purple. All right, so here's the phone. There it goes.
Wow, nice. So it's a random color or a random display? Oh, have a pattern.
Yeah, so there we go.
Nice, very nice. And let's go to the question session. We have several now from Dhioni Rubiagatra. So Dhioni is a lead organizer for the last year of PyCon ID. And he asks about, as a fellow PyCon or Python community organizer, what is your biggest obstacle on helping out the community and how you overcome it?
Yeah, I would say these days there are two pretty large obstacles. One is that people are really sick of sitting in front of their computers. We now sit in front of our computers to work. We sit in front of our computers for school. We sit in front of our computers to socialize. And now we also have to sit in front of our computers to participate in events. And I think if I knew how to overcome that, I would be a millionaire. I don't have a great answer for that. I think it's something that we're all still figuring out. But I think the most important thing is that we don't stop trying. Because Yeah, times are changing, and we're changing with them, and we will figure it out. It's just going to take some time.
Very nice. And he also said thanks to you because your article, Nina, in Medium, he become the speaker on several PyCon in Asia. So that's he very grateful for you.
Oh, I love that. I'm actually tearing up a little. It took me like weeks to write that article, because it's really long. And there were a few times when I thought about just giving up on it. And I'm glad that I was able to persevere, and that I know that a lot of people have been able to find it useful. So thank you. Thank you. It's a very kind compliment.
Okay. And the next question from Eka Kurniawan. So Guido is now working in the same place with you. Any comment on this?
Well, I'm glad that the announcement came before PyCon Indonesia, and I'm surprised that we were able to keep it secret for so long, because he had started a few weeks before the announcement came. No, I'm not entirely sure what he will be focusing on, but we're going to have a meeting about making sure that Python on Azure is set up to work great for Python developers, and so I'm pretty excited about that. I guess we're coworkers now. We're not exactly on the same team, but we're on sister teams.
Okay, talking about the contribution to Python, we have lead contributor for the translation in Indonesian
That's
from on
awesome.
RPND. Yeah. So everyone looking in this stream, we have this repository, github.com/python/python-id. You can contribute to this repo. And the next question from Tony David. How can I find or build my own open source project?
Yeah, so I think my advice there would be to figure out what you're passionate about and work backwards from there. If you're not very experienced in building your own open source projects, sometimes it's better to start out with one that is very well organized and very well maintained, just so you can kind of see what the ropes are. And things like having a contributor's guide are very important to invite other people to work on your project. So if you're not sure what the best practices are, then I would say figure out what your passion is. Like for me, my job is around cloud computing and Python on the web, but I really like making stuff blink. So that's, like if one day I have free time again, that's definitely where I'll be doing the most of my contributing.
Okay, very nice. So find and build is a very different thing. Okay, from another question. Melissa asks about, besides PyLadies, is there any other community about Python that go international? Thank you for your certificate.
Oh, that's awesome. Glad you enjoyed it. I made this based on a design from another maker. Her name is Sophie Wong, and she does a lot of really cool wearables. So I really love this design. And then, of course, I was like, I want to make it Python, and I want to make it wireless. So thank you. I appreciate that. Django Girls is another great organization. I don't know if they are international or not. They have a lot of really great guides. And I think the Python Discord also has a lot of folks that are there from lots of different countries. So that's another great place that you might want to check out.
Okay, so you can check the Django or the Discord channel for Python.
Django Girls.
Oh, Django Girls. Okay. And from Setia Budi, could you share some resource related to the project? This could be a good project for young people to start their journey in Python programming. So I think it's for the beginner.
For beginner projects. So I do teach a a Python workshop, and all of the materials for that workshop are available for free at learnpython.dev. And in terms of, I don't know if they were asking about like my jacket or LED projects. I gave a talk at PyCascades about CircuitPython that has a lot of focus on projects for beginners, but you don't need any special hardware to learn CircuitPython. There's something called the Device Simulator Express, and it's for VS Code. It's an extension, and it's basically an emulator for CircuitPython, where you can learn some of the basics of like how LEDs work and how to interact with sensors without having any special equipment. And then for folks who are complete beginners, Microsoft MakeCode lets you program hardware with like a drag and drop Scratch-like block-based interface. So lots of good options for resources for beginners.
Okay, I just know about the simulator for that. And I think this is from Sandy. He is a university student, and he confused about focus to study or also contribute more to open source project. What do you think?
This is a tough one for me. Well, I don't think you should flunk your classes. I'm glad that I was able to go to university for computer science. I think it did set me up for success, and I did learn a lot in the process. But when I graduated from university, I knew how to code conceptually, but I didn't really know a lot about working on a team, on working on larger scale projects, on doing things like code review. I didn't really have a lot of the skills that I would need on the first day of my job. And when I graduated college, had I known about open source and had I known about some of these projects that I could contribute to, I feel like I would have graduated in a much better place to actually be able to hit the ground running on day one of my new job. So I think it's important to focus on both.
Okay, focus for the both. And yeah, it's better than only study and only contribute. I think it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's more question. If anyone? Okay, I think that's all for the question, and we are very happy to have you here now, and hope you enjoy the PyCon ID. But yeah, you say you want to go to sleep after this. What time is it now?
It's 9 o'clock, so probably start
9
winding down. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'll catch a few other talks.
Okay, we will release every talk in PyCon ID in several months later. And yeah, also you, and we will give the subtitle to Indonesia. I hope we can do it. And thank you very much, Nina, for your time. We are very delightful to have you here in PyCon Indonesia. Hopefully, we can meet each other in another opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully one day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Nina. That's all for the keynote session. We have one Arya Hidayat yesterday, and we have Mariada and Nina for today. And I hope everyone enjoy the keynote speaker. Don't forget, we still have many talks, and in the regular speaker and lightning talk speaker. And don't forget to go to our sponsor and community expo. And that's all from me. Thank you very much, and I will give it back to Melissa.